Welcome back to our new YouTube course on creating Windows Form applications using Visual Studio. I am thrilled to have you join me on this exciting journey where we dive deep into the world of Windows application development. In this course, we will start from scratch and guide you through every step, from installing Visual Studio to getting familiar with the essential components in the toolbox. In this course, I am assuming that you know a little bit about C# because this is the language that we are going to use in order to create Windows applications. Together, we will explore the powerful capabilities of Visual Studio and discover the potential of its toolbox components. From buttons to text boxes, from drop-down menus to checkboxes, and others. We will uncover the secrets behind each element and learn how to utilize them effectively in our applications. But before we jump into the coding adventure, we will ensure you have everything set up correctly. In the initial part of this course, I will walk you through the installation process of Visual Studio, and as we progress, we will put our knowledge into practice by developing a final project, where we will incorporate all the components we have discussed throughout the course. This hands-on experience will solidify your understanding and empower you to confidently apply your newfound skills into making your own application. Are you ready? Let's dive in. In this section, we are going to see how to install Visual Studio. Make sure to visit the description because I am going to put this link there. Once you reach this link or reach this page, here you can find the download page where we can download Visual Studio. Here we have the community. It is a free version, but the professional and the enterprise aren't free. So make sure to install Visual Studio 2022, the community version. If you have a Mac, here we have a version for Mac users. But for Linux users, sadly, there isn't a version for that. Okay, so if you are on Windows, just click on free download and it is going to start downloading. Okay, so here is the installer. Once you click on it, you know how to install Windows applications, so it's very easy to do. Once that's done, you need to open the Visual Studio installer, and here you need to install some packages. Okay, so once you finish the setup, you can find these packages that you can install. So you have a lot of things that you can install with Visual Studio, but here I'm just going to show you what I have installed. So you can see here for me, I have installed the .NET Desktop Development. So if you don't have this, you can't follow the rest of the course. If you don't install this, you can't follow the rest of the course because here you can see we have Windows Forms, and this is what we are going to be using in order to create Windows applications. What I have here this data storage and processing, and that's it. Once you check these, here you will have an install button. For example, if I want to add this, you can see that I need, in order to install this, I need to download 100 megabytes. So then you can click on install and this is going to install. Once that's finished, you can go back and here you can find your version. So when you launch it, you get this screen. Here I have a lot of projects that I have worked on. That's why I have this open recent dialog where I have all my projects. But for you, you need to go to here, create a new project. Here, make sure to search for Windows Forms applications. Okay, so this one, I already have it here. If you use it a lot, you are going to find it here. So I'm just going to click on it. And you can see we have C#. That's why I said in the beginning that you need C# in order to follow this course. So once you click on it, just click on next. Here you can name it whatever you want and choose a location. Once you do that, let me choose a location, and I will be back. So I have named my project. I have chosen this location. Now click on create. And as you can see, if you have created your project, you are going to get what you see here in the screen. In the rest of this course, we are going to discover the components that exist in the toolbox. So see you in the next video. Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to talk about buttons in a Windows Form application. Buttons are essential elements that allows users to interact with our application. Let us explore the key properties and events that you will encounter when working with buttons. In order to insert a button in your application, you need to open the toolbox. If you don't see it, you can click on View, and here you can find the toolbox. Okay, so click on it and you will get it in here. Here you can search for buttons. Okay, so I'll click on it and click on the form. Or you can click and drag in order to set a custom size. Okay, I will remove this one and keep the first one. In this properties panel, you can see that we have a lot of properties here that we can change in order to customize the look of our button. For example, we can change the size from here or from here. You see you have the size property. For example, if I want a 200 pixel by 50 pixel button, I can do that here. You see here the results. The text that is displayed in the button can be changed using the text property. For example, here I am going to say click me. You see the text was changed. If I want to make it bigger, because here the button you can see that it is very big, so in order to make it easier for people to read the text, I can change the font size. Here I can say, for example, 12. And another property that we can change is the flat style. For example, I can change the style of the button. You see, there are here some types that we can change. There are other properties such as the background color. If you want to enable or disable the button, there are a ton of properties that can be used, but what I have showed you right now are the properties that are the most used. There are other things beside properties, and those things are called events. If you click on this icon, you can see here we have a lot of events. So what are events? For example, when I click on the button, I want something to happen. So this is an event, and it is called the click event. You see here, so automatically when you open this tab, you see that the click event is selected because it is the most used event when working with buttons. For example, if I want, let's say, when I click on this click me, I want to close the application. So what I am going to do, I can double click on the button, or I can double click here in the click event. So here it's very easy. So I click 2 times on the button, and you can see that in the code, I am going to get a new function that will be executed whenever I click on the button. So you see, so this is the button click method. Now, as I said, when I click on the button, I want to exit or close the application. In order to do that, we can write this code. It's very easy. Let's say, for example, exit. I want to exit the application when I click on the button. Now, if I run the application and click on the button, you are going to see that the application will exit because this is the event that was triggered. Okay, so our application now is running. When I click on click me, you see the application exits. So the event that was triggered has executed the code inside of this function. So I hope I have made everything clear for you. In the next video, we are going to talk about checkboxes. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be talking about checkboxes in a Windows Forms application. Checkboxes are useful elements that allow users to make selections or indicate choices within our application. Let's explore the key properties and events associated with checkboxes. Again, everything exists in the toolbox. Here, search for checkbox and click on the form application. So I'm going to drop 2. Here I am not going to talk about the same properties that we have seen, because here we have some properties that are common. That means that a lot of components such as checkboxes, picture boxes, buttons and others, they may have some properties that are the same. But here, that's why I'm not going to talk about the size, the font, but I will show you the new properties that we haven't seen before, or the properties that are particular to the components that we are talking about. For example, here with checkboxes, we have a new property called checked. That means when I run the application, this checkbox will be checked by default. In order to show you that, I will launch the application by hitting F5 or by clicking on the Start button. As you guys can see, now when I click on the first one, I can uncheck it and I can check this one. I can check both, but by default the first one will be checked when I launch the application and the other won't be. Now let's say if I check this one, I want to delete or exit the application. We can do more than that, but we haven't seen some other components. That's why I just exit the application. But in the upcoming videos, we are going to see a lot of cool examples of how to use these components. So in order to do that, we need an event, and that event is called checked_changed. That means that when I change the state of the checkbox, this event will be triggered. That means so initially this checkbox is unchecked, but when I check it, I have changed the state of it, so that will trigger this event. So I will double click on it. That brings this method, and here I will exit the application. So I will do the same thing that we have did in the previous video. So we are going to exit the application. When I run the application now, you see we have successfully exited the application. There are other things. For example, here we can say if the checkbox, so this is our checkbox 2, so the second one, if it is checked, we are going to do the same thing. So you see, we have tested that it was checked and we exited the application. We can do the same thing for the first one, but it won't work. Let's see. So here I am on the Events tab, and I will double click on this one. I have this. I will copy the code that we have wrote in the first method in order to win time. And here I will change checkbox 2 to checkbox 1. Now, if I uncheck the checkbox, the application won't exit. Why? We are going to see why. You see, it didn't exist. Why? Because here we are testing if it is checked. Is it checked? No, it is unchecked. So here we are going to invert the condition. So if it isn't, if the checkbox is unchecked, then exit the application. So I will rerun the application, and you are going to see now that when we uncheck the first checkbox, like that, the application exits. So these are, I would say, the basic things that you need to know about checkboxes. And we are going to see them in details when we are going to build applications that has different or a lot of components, buttons, picture boxes, group boxes. We are going to see these things in upcoming videos. So next time we are going to talk about color dialogues. So this components. So we are going to see it in the next video. Hey everyone! In today's video, we are going to talk about color dialogues in a Windows Form application. The color dialog is a powerful tool that allows users to select colors for various elements within our application. Let us explore the key features and functionality of the color dialog. In order to use the color dialog element, you can see it here. You can search for it or just drag it and drop it. You see, when you do that, nothing happens where it is. But it's not like the other elements like buttons, checkboxes. The color dialog comes here as other elements that you are going to see in the future. So color dialogs are elements that allows us to choose colors. How are we going to use that? I am going to use a button, as we have seen, because we have seen them. When I click on this button, I will open the color dialog in order to pick a color. So I'll make this button bigger. I will change the text, choose color, for example. I'll make the font bigger, 12. Okay. Now I will double click on the button in order to add the method that will execute the code when the click event is triggered. So in this method, what are we going to do? We are going to show the dialog. In order to do that, we are going to click on dialog results. Like this, dialog results is equal to color dialog dot show dialog. So this is going to show our dialog. And here, I will write this code. So I will run the application and show you what does this mean. Okay, so this is our application. Now, when I click on this button, the first line of code will be executed, and it is going to show the dialog. So this is the dialog that was as we can see, because we have successfully executed this line of code. Now, what does this mean? Dialog result is equal to OK. It means that when I click on OK, I will take the color that I have chosen in this palette of colors and set it as a background color, or store it in this background color variable. Okay. So when I click on OK, it is going to disappear. And the background color was changed because this is referring to the form's background color. We don't want that. Here we want to say button1 dot background color. Okay. Now, if we rerun the application and click on the button, I will choose, let's say, red color. When I say OK, you see the button's background color was changed. So that's how we use color dialogs in order to choose colors. It's a very easy to use element, and the code is, I think, very straightforward. So in the next video, we are going to talk about combo boxes. Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to explore combo boxes in a Windows Forms application. Combo boxes are powerful controls that allow users to select an item from a list or input their own custom value. Let's dive into the key features and functionality of combo boxes. In order to use combo boxes, we can find them in the toolbox, drop it here. So this is how a comboBox is looking. I'll just have one. And here, let me launch the application in order to show you how a comboBox works. Okay, so here we have an empty comboBox. When we click on this little arrow, we will have a lot of options that we can choose from, or we can input our own if we want. So as you can see, the comboBox is not filled. In order to fill our comboBox, you need to click on it. You see this little arrow, click on it and click on edit items. Here I will just type item 1, item 2, just for demonstration purposes, and item 3. I will click on OK. Now when I rerun the application, I will see these options. You can see now I can choose one of these items or input my own, let's say item 20. But what if I don't want the user to input his own item, let's say? Well, in order to do that, we have another property that is called drop-down style. Here, we can make it, we can choose this style, drop-down list. Now, when I rerun the application, we will force the user to choose the items that we provide. We don't want him to add something else. You can see now I cannot edit. Now I am typing, but nothing happens because we have changed the style. And let's say we don't want the user to edit or enter something that doesn't exist. Okay, so in order to do that, you can change the style here. There are other styles. For example, here simple. You can see the simple style will show you the items in advance. It's like an expandable comboBox. You see it is expanded and I can choose from it. Here also I can modify the items. So now we have added these items manually, but how can we add them? Let's say if I click on a button. Okay, so if we want to do that, I will insert a button. I will add it here, edit its width, and change the text to say add item. I will double click on the button to bring the click events method. And here I will select the comboBox number 1, dot items. So items is a list. Basically, we are going to add to it something. I will say add, and here item, I don't know. Here I'm going to initialize a counter. So I'll say private int counter equals to 3 because we have 3 items before. And here I will just say plus counter, and I will increment its value, plus plus. Now whenever I click on a button, I will add an item plus a counter. So for example, the first time I click on the button, I will add item 3, and then item 4, item 5, etc. Let me run the application. Okay, so initially, how many items we have? Just 3. Now I will click on the button. Add item. Item 3 was added. Now add item. Item 4 was added, etc. I can click on the button as many times as I want. And now I have a lot of items that were added. Now how to delete, for example, I will select this one because I have 2 of them. I want to select this one and delete it. How to do that? Well, I will add another button and show you how can we do this. So here I will click on Control and drag the button in order to duplicate it, and make sure that the event is not the same one, because we want to have another method that will be executed when this button is clicked. So let me first change the text to remove item. Remove item. And here I will just double click on it. Okay, so how can we do that? Well, it's easy. So here we did add, we have remove. So comboBox dot items dot remove, and here you can see the description. It says removes the specified item from the comboBox, or we have remove add. So these are two functions that we can use. Remove an item from the comboBox at the specified index. So here, for example, I can show you the items. If we have selected the item that exists in the second index, we can specify the second index in order to remove that specific item. Okay, so here we are going to do remove. We are going to see them both. So we remove at, we need to say comboBox1 dot selected index. So this is going to give me the object in this specific index, so or the index of the item that was selected. Let me run the application and see if it is going to work or not. Okay, so here I am going to choose, oh, we don't have a lot of items, but I'm going to choose the second one. So I will click on remove. You see, now item 2 was successfully removed. Let me add more items. Let's try deleting item 4. Remove item. Now item 4 doesn't exist. What about item 3? I will remove it. You see, we had 2 item trees. Now we have successfully deleted one of them. Okay, so we have done that using remove at. Let me comment this line and see the other option. So items.remove selected item. So when you use remove, you use the selected item property. When you use remove at, you use selected index. Okay, and by the way, if you are wondering how am I getting these cool auto-completion things, that's because I am using as you can see here, I am using GitHub Copilot's extension. It's a very wonderful extension that will help you a lot when developing anything. Okay, so that's why I am getting these auto-completion suggestions. Okay, so let's rerun now the application with this method and see if it is going to give us the same results or not. Okay, so here let's remove item 2. You see item 2 was removed. Let me add more items. Let's remove item 3. Remove item. So we have removed item 3. What about item 6? Remove item. So item 6 was removed, and etc. So that's how, or I think these are the things that you need to know about combo boxes. Okay, so in the next video we are going to talk about labels. Hello everyone. In today's video we are going to talk about labels in a Windows Forms application. Labels are simple yet essential controls that allow you to display text on your application's user interface. Let's dive into the key features and usage of labels. And by the way, this video won't be long because this is a very simple element that we can use in our applications. Okay, so to use a label, we can select it from here, label, and we can add it to our form. Okay, so a label is a static text. As you can see, we can change what is displayed here. For example, let's say insert your name. So we use labels in order to make certain things more understandable. For example, here we have used combo boxes before, but a combo box like this, you won't know what you are supposed to do with it, or even if you choose an item, what does that mean? In order to add more information, we can have a label close to a comboBox, for example. Here, let's say insert, I don't know, your country. Let's say insert your country. Here when you read this label and open this comboBox, you say, I am supposed to choose my country. So that will add more information. So this is why we use labels for this kind of things. So as I said, labels are static. So you just change the text property of it. And for example, if you want to change it in the code, let's say here. So this is something new. We haven't talked about this. So in the form, when we launch the application, in this loading event, what we want to do, when this form is loaded, this event will be triggered. And when the form is loaded, we want to change the text of this label. So in order to do that, we have the text property, and we can say something like select your country in capital letters, for example. When we run the application, we are going to see that the label will change programmatically, of course. See, before it was not in capital letters, but now it is, because we have done that, or we have changed that in the load event. I hope this video was helpful, and in the next one we are going to talk about dateTimePicker. Hi everyone! In today's video we will be exploring the dateTimePicker control in a Windows Forms application. The dateTimePicker is a powerful tool that allows users to select dates and times conveniently. Let's dive into the key features and functionality of the dateTimePicker. As always, we need to open the toolbox, search for dateTimePicker, and add it to your form. Now I will try to run the application by clicking on F5, just to see how this dateTimePicker looks like. You see here we have a visualization. We know that this is 17 June 2023, but we can change that here. So click on this little arrow, and here, for example, I can look for 2001, August, for example, August 16 or 23, and the result changes here also. Now we are going to add a button and a toolbox, so and a label, not a toolbox. So here is our button, and we need label. Why we are adding this? Because we are going to see how to retrieve the data from this dateTimePicker, because that's what we want. We don't want it to stay here just for I don't know, for aesthetic reasons. No, we want to retrieve the data. So I am just going to increase the font size in case you are having a hard time seeing what I am doing. Okay, so 10 seems good. I'll make this button a little bit bigger and double click on it in order to add this click event. Here I want to change the text of this label. How am I going to do that? So I'm just going to say label1 dot text is equal to dateTimePicker. Give me the value that you are holding and convert that to string, because dot value returns a date time. Okay, so here we are going to convert it to string and then set it as a text for the label. Now when I click on the button, I will get the date information. Okay, you can see here we have 17 June 2023, and also we have hours, minutes and seconds. But what if we want just days, months, and years. Okay, so that's simple. You just need to come here and format the string. For example, I want years in the beginning. After that, I want months and days. Okay? Now, when I run the application again, I am not going to get those hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay, so I will click on the button, and here is the result that we are getting. So we have the year, month, and date. But look closely. So there is something that is wrong here. So June is the 6th month. So we need here we should get 6. But why are we getting 50? So this is wrong. That's because here I have done that just to show you this problem. Here normally if you want to set months, you need to make that capital like this, MM. Now when we relaunch the application, we are going to get the correct format. You can see here we have 6 instead of 50 that we have got before. If you want, for example, before converting this to string, to get, for example, if you want to get the day of the week or the day of year, you have a lot of things that you can change. Or how many seconds are in here, so you can get that too and convert that to string. Okay, so we are going to convert the date into seconds. Let me see how that looks like. You can see we have, you remember before we had days, months, years, hours, minutes, and seconds. We have just got the seconds component or the seconds part of that value. Okay, you can do a lot of things. You can get the date, the day, the month, the year, or you can just set that here. For example, I want just hours. So here you get this suggestion. Here it says 12-hour clock, so it's going to say AM or PM, but using HH, it's going to give you hours from 0 to 23, basically. So I'm going to choose the second one and run the application again. So right now it is, let's see, it is 5 AM. Let's see what am I going to get. So yeah, so we got the 5 AM. Okay, so basically that's how you use the dateTimePicker. So we have seen how to retrieve the data programmatically, but there are other things that we can change, for example, in the properties. Here you can, for example, change the minimum days that the user can choose, the maximum days. Okay, we have another property. So here you see the date format is long. We can change that to short, or to display the time, or to something that is custom. You can custom that if you want. So I hope I have made everything clear for you guys. In the next video, we are going to look at text boxes. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be talking about text boxes in a Windows Forms application. Text boxes are versatile controls that allows users to input and edit text within your application. Let us explore the key features and functionality of text boxes. Open your toolbox, search for textBox. We have a lot of options, but we want this one. Add it to your form. So that's how a text box looks like. Here I am going to have 3 of them in order to show you a property that we can change. For example, here we can make this one just read only. That means that we don't want users to change the text that it is displayed here. I'm going to add something like here, something. So something will be displayed in this text box, but users cannot change it. Here, on the other hand, read only is set to false. That means that users can input text here. They can modify it. Even if I add something here, text, they can still delete this text and add their own. The third option that we have is, suppose that you want your users to log in with their account and you want them to enter their password. If you let the text box like this, they are going to insert their password, but they can see it. If you want to hide the password and add those circles like we are all familiar with, you need to come here and choose this. Use system password character. Okay, so when you do this, let me run the application now. You are going to see that, yes, you are typing your password, but you don't see characters. You see just those symbols. Okay, so as I said, the first one, we can change the text in it. We can delete everything. That's fine. But the second one, look, the cursor is here, but now I am typing, but nothing happens. And even if I want to delete, I cannot do that because this text box is just read only. Here, you can see now I am typing the password, but I see nothing. Okay, so now you saw that the symbol that we used is those circles because we have used the system password character. We can make this false and enter our own. For example, I want the password character or the password symbol to be $. I can try that if I want. Let me run the application now. And you can see now I am typing, I'm not typing $, I am typing characters, and they are basically Visual Studio is hiding those using the $. Symbol. We have other things. Let me copy this here. We can change the type to multi-line in order to write a big, for example, if I want to write a paragraph, I can make it multi-line. Here it's not going to work because it's going to, here we have just one line. If we write something that has, I don't know, a lot of characters, we cannot see that correctly. For example, here I am just typing, you see, I'm not able to see the whole text. But here, because I have multi-lines, I can type and type and type. And even if for example, I reach this, the text will continue to the next line, etc. Okay, so I think these are the properties that are most used. Now, let's see how we can, for example, set the text of this text box and change some of these properties programmatically. Again, we will be adding a button in order to do that. So I will drop the button here. I'll double click on it. And this text box is called textBox 1. Let's give it textBox object so that we can access it rapidly here. So textBox object dot text is equal to Visual Studio 2022. This is just an example. Okay, so the application now is running. When I click on button 1, you see the text was changed to Visual Studio 2022. Now, what if I want to make it read only? So I can type here read only is equal to true. And when I run the application, that's what I am going to get. Okay, so button 1. Now the text was changed, but now I cannot change it because it is set to true. Because read only was set to true. So this text box, we are going to be using it a lot in the upcoming videos when we are going to create examples of applications that has a lot of components in order to apply these things that we are learning right now. So in the next video, we are going to take a look at picture boxes. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be exploring picture boxes in a Windows Forms application. Picture boxes are powerful controls that allows you to display images and icons within your application's user interface. let us dive into the key features of picture boxes. In the toolbox, search for pictureBox and drag it to your phone. Okay, so that's how a picture box looks like. So here we can import our image and display it in our form. But before that, let me change the size of this container. So I'll make it square. So this is 100 by 100 square. And here I can, for example, choose the image from my disk, or I can do it programmatically. So we are going to use this as a startup, and then I'm going to do it manually. So I'm going to search for an image and I'll come back. Okay, so I have added here an image of a gear. I'll click on OK. Okay, so you can see that we cannot see it because the image of the gear is very big, but here the size of the square is just 100 by 100 pixel. In order to fix this, you click again on this little triangle, and here you can change how the image will be displayed. So here, if you change auto size, you can see that the picture box will try to change its size in order to fit the whole image. We don't want that. We can center the image, for example. Here we are, even though the image is big, we are going to center it inside of this box. Here we have stretch the image. You can see we are going to reshape the image in order to fit inside of this picture box, and this is what the result that we want. So if we launch the application, we are going to see this. So we have successfully added an image manually, but we can do that programmatically. So we are going to add a button again, and we are going to obtain the same result using C#. So you see, here is our image. Perfect. Now I will take this and try centering it. I will try to make it a little bit bigger so that you can see better. 300 by 300 pixels. Okay, so this is our image. I am going to add a button, and in order to center components, for example, here I want to center this button with this picture box. So I will select the picture box and center the button. So I will center it like this. You see the button now is centered with this picture box. Before that, I will remove this image. I don't want it anymore, so I will say none. Okay. I'll double click on the button in order to add the method or the click event method. And here, so this picture box is named pictureBox1. So I'll try to access it. So pictureBox1 dot. Here we have a lot of options. We can do load, okay? And here we need to specify the location of our image. So basically, you are just going to paste here the path to your image, but there is a faster way. For example, if you want to if you don't want to paste the whole path, you can paste just the name of the image. For example, you can do image.png instead of I don't know, column, etc., and the whole path. But in order to be able to do this, you need to come here, Solution Explorer, and right click here, go to Open Folder in File Explorer. So this is your projects folder. Go to bin, debug, and here we need to paste the image. So I will paste the image that I have used before, the image of that gear, and I will come back. Okay, I am back and I have inserted the image here. If I double click on it, you can see, so it's basically the same image, the image of that gear. And here the file extension is PNG, so this is very important. Okay, so you see here the image is named gear, that's the same name that we have here, and .png. If I run the application now, and when we click on the button, we should see that the image is going to be added. You see, the gear image was successfully displayed in the picture box. So this is a method that we can use. We have another option. So this is the option that is most used, but we have another one. So we can say image is equal to image from file. And if we run this, it's going to work the same way. Let's wait for the form to appear. So click on the button and yeah, it worked. So basically you can use both, but for me personally, I prefer the first one because it is very easy to write. Here again, if you don't have this image in your debug folder, this will not work, and you need to specify the whole path to your image. So this is the end of this video. I hope I have made this picture box clear for you guys. In the next video, we are going to see radio buttons. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be discussing radio buttons. Radio buttons are essential controls that allow users to select a single option from a set of mutually exclusive choices. What does it mean? If we have 3 or 4 choices, we can only choose one of them. Before, we have talked about checkboxes. If you had 4 options and you are working with checkboxes, there is no problem. You can choose them all, you can check just 2 or just 1. But here with radio buttons, you are allowed to choose just one option. So let's dive into the key features and functionality of radio buttons. Again, open your toolbox, search for radio button. I will be adding, let's see, I will be adding 3. Here we have 2, and I will duplicate this one so that we have 3. And let me change the text to radio button 3. Okay. So in order to see the difference, I will be adding also checkboxes. Checkbox 1, 2, and 3. Let me quickly change the text to say checkbox 2 and checkbox 3. Okay, and I will add a button. You might need it later if you want to do something with C#. Okay, so I'll place the button here. Let me run the application so that we can see this difference between these 2 components. Our application is running, and immediately you can see that one of these radio buttons was selected automatically, and if I want to select the second one, you see the first one was unselected. Why? Because this is the difference. Here we can check them all if we want, but here you are allowed to choose just one option from all of these options that you are given. So this is basically the difference between these 2. If you are, I don't know, creating a form and you want users to select one or more options, then a checkbox will be the choice. But if you want them to choose just one, for example, if you want them to specify their gender, so you have male or female, here you cannot add checkboxes. That means that they can choose both male and female, and that doesn't make sense. Here you are going to choose radio buttons. They are allowed to choose male or female. Okay, so now let me exit out of this application. We are going to see, for example, let's say that I have selected this radio button, or this one, I want to change a label based on that choice. Okay, so let me add a label here. And first of all, let me make everything bigger by changing the font size to 10. Okay, so that looks good to me. Okay, let me double click on the button. Okay, so what can we do? So here we are going to say if radio button 1 dot checked, that means that we have selected this radio button. What are we going to do? We are going to look for the label and change its text to say radio button 1 is checked, something like this. I'm going to copy this and say else radio button 2 dot checked, not true. Sorry, I need to say else if radio button 2 is checked, close the parentheses, and I will paste this and say label 2, else if radio button 3 is checked, we are going to say radio button 3 is checked. Okay, let's run the application and see if this will work or not. Okay, so when I click on the button, you see it says radio button 1 is checked. When I click on the second one, or when I check the second one and click on the button, I get radio button 2 is checked, and the same for the third radio button. So now I will show you something if you want to change it. Again, let me run the application quickly. You see, when the form is being loaded, the first radio button is selected automatically. But what if you want to select the second one or even the third one? So for that, we need to double click on the form in order to add this load event. And here we are going to say this radio button, let's say 3 dot checked is equal to true. So this will check this one and uncheck all the others. Perfect. You see now the third one was checked. If you want to check the others, simply change 3 by 2 or 1. Okay, so I hope you have understood why we use radio buttons and why they exist, and what is the difference between radio buttons and checkboxes. In the next video, we are going to look at progress bars. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be discussing progress bars in a Windows Forms application. Progress bars are valuable controls that visually indicate the progress of a task or operation to the user. Let's dive into the key features and functionality of progress bar. In the toolbox, search for progress bar. Okay, drag it and try to make it a bit bigger like this. Okay, so this is our progress bar. I don't want the second one. I'll make it here in the center, and I will add a button and a label. Okay, button and label. I'll put the label here. This label will indicate the percentage of this progress bar. Okay, let's make it a bit bigger so that we can see. Well, 16, for example. Our button will be here. So now, when I double click on this button, I want to set this progress bar to a certain value. But before that, let us see what are the properties that are specifically made for progress bars. So here we have the minimum value. For example, here we have 0%, and the maximum value is set to 100%. If you try to go further than that, you are going to hit an exception. So be sure that the value is less or equal to 100, or I don't know, 1000. If you decide to change this maximum value, just make sure that the current value of the progress bar is less than or equal to the maximum value. Here you can also change the step. For example, If you start from 0, the next step is going to be 10, 20, 30, etc. You can change that also. All of these things can be changed manually in the code. We have another property that we can change, and it is called style. So this is just the style of this progress bar. We have blocks, so this is the default style. We have continuous and marquee. We will come later to this style property. So let me double click on the button that opens this. Here, if I want, for example, let's say I want the progress bar to be set to 50%. How am I going to do that? It's simple. I am going to write progressBar1 dot value is equal to 50. So this is, imagine, 50% basically. So we will have a green rectangle that will indicate that the progress bar has reached 50%. Okay, so initially the progress bar is, the value of the progress bar is set to 0, but when I click here on the button, you see we have a certain animation and the progress bar goes from 0 to 50%. Okay, so I had a better idea. Instead of changing this and running the application each time, I will do this. I will duplicate this progress bar 3 times, okay? And here I will leave the style set to blocks, but here I will change that to continuous, and the second one will be set to marquee, like this. Okay, now I need to change something. So here I have changed the value to 100%, and I will duplicate this 2 times. So here progress bar 2 and 3. Okay, I will launch the application, and using this method we are going to see these styles in the same time. So I'll click on the button. Okay, so the first difference, so the third style, marquee, it doesn't have a value, so it just rotates and rotates and rotates. So this is the first difference, but the first and second one, I don't see, they are the same, I think. Let me try changing the value to something like 70, see if that makes a difference. So here, as I said, we don't need the value, it just keeps loading and loading and loading indefinitely. Okay, so here you saw I have removed the progress tree dot value, and it's still loading. So you can see here the continuous and blocks style are basically the same. I don't know is there any difference, but visually I see no difference. Okay, now let's see how to increment this value. For example, we have a process that it is taking a certain amount of time, and we want to simulate that. Okay, so we are going to I am going to create a private int counter. We are going to start from 0. Remember, the minimum value is set to 0. And I am going to create a for loop. So we can create for loop like this. So int I is set to 0 and I++. We don't need this counter. We can use it here. So that counter is basically this I index, and here it should be less or equal. So the maximum value we can reach it. There is no problem. Okay, so let me make it 101 so that I show you that we should make sure to not exceed this value. I'm going to take these 2 values and insert them here. So how am I doing this? Basically, I am holding Alt and using the up arrow. Okay, so this moves it up, and when I click on when I hold the Alt and I click on the down arrow, I can go down. So this is a handy shortcut that you can use. And if you want to indent this correctly, you just click on Tab. Okay, so the value will be set to I, and basically this loop will populate, or will try to change the values from 0 to 101. And when we reach 101, we are going to get an exception. Okay, so let's click on the button. You see we have immediately got this exception because this ran so fast. We haven't even got the chance to see the progress bar being updated. So here it says argument out of range exception. Value of 101 is not valid for value. It should be between minimum and maximum. Okay, so let me go back to 100, and you saw it was very fast. Now let me add a timer, or let me try to sleep this for loop by a certain amount. So we can say what? We can say system.threading.thread, and this is going to add a delay of 100 milliseconds. Okay, now when I launch the application and click on the button, you see now we see that's progress. So basically this is the for loop being executed, and the values will go from 0 to 100. And now thankfully we didn't hit any exception, because we have made sure that the value of this progress bar is between 0 and 100. So I hope you have understood the progress bar and how to use it in your applications. Next, we are going to look at groupBox. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be talking about groupBoxes in a Windows Forms application. Groupboxes are containers to help organize related controls and provide a visual grouping effect. Let us explore the key features and functionality of groupboxes. In the toolbox, if you search groupBox and drag it to your form, you can specify here, for example, the size, you get something that looks like this. In order to show you why we need to use groupboxes, I am going to add some radio buttons. For example, so this is 1, 2, 3. And I will have 2 more here. For example, if I run now the application, these radio buttons are going to be coupled. What does that mean? This means that when I choose this radio button, I cannot choose the others. If I choose the last one, I cannot choose the others. But what if these mean something and these mean other things? In other terms, I would like to select just one radio button from these 3 and just one from these 2. But now you can see that I cannot do that because they are all in the same, let's say, level. So when you select one, the other ones are going to be deselected or dechecked. Okay, so in order to solve that, we use group boxes. So I can take these and isolate them inside of a group box. So when I put these inside, I will make sure to resize the group box. I will delete these 2 and just duplicate the group box. Okay, so now I will launch the application, and you are going to see that now we don't have this problem because we have used a group box. So now I can select these 3 and select these 3 independently. So this is one way of using a group box. There are other ways. If you want, for example, to divide your application into different areas, you can use a group box. So you can have an area where you are going to put the controls, an area where you are going to get the input from the user. So this is a very easy to use component, In the next video, we are going to look at messageBox. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be discussing message boxes in a Windows Forms application. Message boxes are powerful tools that allow you to display messages and prompts to the user, facilitating communication and interaction. Let's dive into the key features of message boxes. In the previous video, all the elements were existing in the toolbox, but a message box, if you search for it, you aren't going to find it. That's because this is something that we are going to create programmatically. So in order to show our message box, I am going to add a button. When I click on this button, I am going to exit the application. So let me change the text to say exit and change the size of it as well as the font. Okay, so our button is ready. I will double click on it. So our method was successfully generated. Now, in order to show a message box, we can say message box. So this is the class dot show. So this method show takes 4 arguments, or you can give just one. It depends because we have lots of options. But let's say the first string is the message that you want to show. We are going to say, do you want to exit the application? So this is the message that the user will see. The second string, let's say information. We will see this string when we launch the application. You are going to understand. The third arguments are the buttons that are going to be added to the message box. So we can say message OK, for example. So message box buttons dot OK, and the icon. So message icon message information. So this is the icon that is going to be displayed. So now when I launch the application, and when we click on the button, we are going to get a message box with these informations. So we will have the message, the OK button, and the information icon. Okay, so here is our application running. I'm going to click on exit, and you see, so this is, let me pull this off. So we have the message. This is the message that we have wrote. Information was written here, so it's like the title. The message box buttons dot OK, we have it here, and we have information. So this is fairly customizable. Let's say, for example, that if you had an error and you want to show that to the user, here you can change the information to say error, and you are going to see that the icon now will change. You have a bunch of them. I'm not going to go through them all, but I've showed you now information, and see, that's how the error icon looks like. But you can experiment yourself by looking at the other attributes. So just click on Control Space, and you see here are all the icons that you can use. The same goes for this button. Here I have chosen OK, but we have yes, no, OK, cancel, retry, cancel, and yes, no, cancel. Okay, so here I am going to choose yes, no instead of OK, because if the user doesn't want to exit, he can click on no. Let me show you, and stay in the application. But if he really wants to exit, he then is going to click on yes. Okay, so now they don't do anything, but we can program that. So that's what we are going to see now. So I'm going to take this message box, I'm going to delete it and add something. So the dialog result, and so I'm going to paste this. Click on OK here because we don't have a lot of space. Okay, so here I'll make it information. So I have done the same thing. So I have just took what we have wrote before and stored that into result. So now when I click on the button yes, that's going to be saved in this object. And we can have a small test in order to see if we have clicked on the yes button or no. So if we have clicked on yes, we are going to exit the application. So I'm going to say application.exit, else do nothing. So do nothing. I'm not going to write this case because we are going to stay in the application. Okay, so the application now is running. I'm going to click on exit. When I say no, okay, you see nothing happens. But when I click on yes, okay, we have successfully exited the application. So this is how you can use a messageBox inside of Visual Studio. It is a very powerful tool that you can use in order to inform your users. And in the next video, we are going to look at error providers. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be talking about errorProvider in a Windows Forms application. The errorProvider component is a helpful control that allows you to display error icons and messages next to input controls to indicate validation or input errors. Let's explore the key features and functionality of errorProvider. In order to show you how to use the errorProvider, I will be inserting two text boxes. Okay, so this is the first one, and the second one I will just copy it like this, and I'm going to insert a button. We have seen before that we can use labels in order to inform our users. For example, here I am going to say username, so here they should enter their username. This, I'm going to copy this one, and here I am going to say password. I'm not going to hide the password because this is just for demonstration. And I'm going to increase the width of these text boxes, and the button will be placed here. The button will say, let's say for example, sign in. Okay, and now we are going to insert the errorProvider. Okay, so I'm going to insert two of them, and again they come here. It's not like the other components, so it's like the colorDialog, the timer, and other elements that come here. Okay, so now I will click on the sign in button, and I am going to test if the user exists in the database, for example. We are going to accept that and show a message box that says successfully logged in or something like that. But if what the user has entered here doesn't exist in the database, we are going to show the errorProvider. Okay, so I am saying the database, but I am just saying we are just going to compare the two strings. It's that simple. So here I am going to say username, let's say, okay, admin seems good to me, private string password admin. So we are going to keep this very simple. So if the textBox one.text equals to blah blah, so you can see using Copilot it makes it very easy. Here we have a small problem. I have wrote private, so you need to write private. Okay, so here we are just testing if this username is equal to what the user has written, and the password is it equal to textbox2.text. If that's true, then we are going to show login success. But if any of these is not good, we are going to show the errorProvider. Okay, so here I'm going to say errorProvider.setError, And where should we set the error? We are going to set it next to the text box 1, and we are going to say that username is not correct. Technically, we shouldn't do it like this, because if the username was correct, then this message doesn't mean anything. So we need to test. If okay, so if it's not equal to username, we are going to show the error. The same thing for this second text box. We can say if textbox2.text equals password, and we are inverting that, so that means that they are not equal, then show that second error. So set error, here we say username is not correct, but here we say password is not correct. Okay, so it seems a lot, but let me run the application and you are going to see that it is very easy to understand. Okay, our application is successfully running. So now I'm going to write admin. So this should show the message box because the two are equal. Okay, let me click on the button. And yes, we see here that we have the message box appearing. You can see that we don't have a lot of details because here we just specified the message. We didn't specify the buttons or the icons and even the text that appears here. Okay, I'm going to click on OK. And now I'm going to change just the admin. I'm going to add S. When I click on sign in, you see here we have the error provider. So these two weren't equal, so we went to the else case and we have compared, is textbox1 equal to username? No, admins is not equal to admin. So show this error next to the text box. So this is how we use error providers. So an error provider is used to set an error next to a component. Here the component that we have chosen is textbox1, and next to it we have the error provider or the error icon, and when you hover over it you get this message that says username is not correct. We will have the same effect if the admin was not correct, because we have a second text just down below. Okay, so they are equal. Now what if I write admin like this? So this is correct. The error should go away, but when I click on the button it won't. So in order to fix this, we are going to add the else case, and here we are just going to say error provider 1 dot clear. So clear the error. We don't want it because the username is correct. The same thing is true for password. So I'm going to say error provider 2 dot clear. Now let me run the application, and now it should be complete. I'll click on sign in. You see we have the two errors. Now I'm going to say admin. The first error should go away. Yes, that works. And when I say here admin, the second error will go and the message box will appear. That was successfully. Here you see that it didn't work. Why? Because normally we enter here, but we don't go to the else case. So that's why this didn't work well. But if you want this to work too, here we are going to say, so because they are two equal, we can take these and write them here. So error provider 1 does clear, and the same thing for 2. So now this should work. So in the next video we are going to look at timers. Hi everyone. In today's video we will be talking about timers. Timers are essential tools that allow you to perform actions at specific intervals, creating dynamic and time-based functionality within your application. Let's dive into the key features and functionality of timers. In the toolbox, search for timer. drag it and drop it. Again, it's going to come here. It's like the errorProvider that you have seen in the previous video. So a timer has these properties. So it has an interval. Is it enabled or disabled by default? And so these are the two properties that you need to use, and the name. Okay, so in order to use it, we are going to add the progress bar. So I hope you have seen the progress bar video. There we have used a for loop in order to increment our progress bar. But here we are going to use the timer. So here we are going to say, so for each 100 milliseconds, we are going to increment our progress bar by a value of 1. So here I am not going to add a button, but I'm going to do this when the form loads. So I am double clicking on the form in order to bring this form load method. So here initially the timer is not enabled, so it is disabled. So that's why here we need to enable it. So we can say timer 1 dot enabled equals true, or for me personally, I like to use timer 1 dot start. So this is going to start the timer. So you can use both if you want. Okay, so now when this timer starts, it is going to trigger this event, so the tick event. So when you start your timer, the code that exists in this method will be executed. So here in this method, we are going to update our progress bar. So in order to do that, we are going to say progressBar.value plus equal 1. So take what you have as in your progress bar and add 1 to it. And this is going to be executed each 100 milliseconds. You can change this if you want. If you want 1 second, you can make it 1,000, but it is going to be very slow in order to go from 0 to 100. So that's why I'm leaving it at 100, or even we can reduce that to 50 milliseconds. Now we are going to hit an error like before. If this value exceeds the maximum value, which is equal to 100 in this case, we are going to hit an error. So in order to avoid this, we are going to say if progress bar value is less than or equal to 100, we can increment the value. Less than, not equal, because here we are adding. So if it is less than 100, then we can increment the progress bar's value. Okay, so I hope you have understood what we have did here. Now let me run the application in order to see if it is going to work or not. Okay, as you can see, the form is loaded, and you can see that the progress bar is being updated by the timer, and each value, and we add 1 to this progress bar each 15 milliseconds. And you see we didn't hit any error because we have made sure that the value doesn't exceed the maximum value. So this was 50 milliseconds. We can reduce that to 10, and this is going to be much faster. You can see the progress bar now reached the maximum value very quickly. So this is a basic example that shows you how to use the timer. In the next videos, or when we finish talking about these components that exist in the toolbox, we are going to see a lot of examples. I hope if we have time, that shows you the power, the benefits, and the power and the beauty of this timer. So in the next video, we are going to talk about a dataGridView. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be talking about a dataGridView. So, a dataGridView is a powerful control that allows you to display and manipulate tabular data. Let us explore the key features and functionality of dataGridView. You can search for it in the toolbox, so dataGridView. I am going to import it like this. So it's like a table. No, I want just one. Let me remove this one. I'll take this one and make it a bit bigger. Okay, so we have our empty dataGridView. In order to add columns to it, because we said that we are going to manipulate tabular data, we need to add columns. So here, add column. So this is the name that is going to be displayed. For example, here I can say first name, add. The second one, last name, add. Let's say, I don't know, grade, city, and birthday, something like this, add. Okay, so we have these 5 columns. The dataGridView is empty, so we have 0 rows. Okay, so you see here we have an empty space. We have a property here that will allow us to stretch these columns in order to take all of this space. And that is here. So it's called auto-size column mode. So here you can choose fill. Okay, and it fills that empty area that we had before. Okay, as you can see, our dataGridView is empty. In order to add data to it, we can do this programmatically. I'm going to double click on the form in order to bring the load events. So this is the method. We are going to write dataGridView 1 dot rows dot add, and here we need to how many columns we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we need to specify 5 values. So the first name, let's say Imad, the second or the last name Sadiq, the grade, let's say, I don't know, 16. What else do we have? City, Meknes, and the last argument, so it's the birthday. I'm going to make it a string. I'm not going to use a date time object here. So 2001 8/16. So I was born in this date. I'm going to add this, so I'm going to add the same value. I'm not going to modify it a lot because it's going to take a lot of time. And this is just are just demonstrating that we can do this. So when we launch the application, you see we have all the values were added to our table. Now we can select them like this, and you have this little triangle that shows you the row that you are selecting. So here, what if I want to delete this third row? I am going to add a button called remove in order to do this. So toolbox, button. This button, as I said, will be called remove. Remove. Let's double click on it. And here we are going to say dataGridView dot rows dot remove. So it's the same thing. We have seen this before when we were working with combo boxes. Remove, you specify the item, but here we are talking about the row. And remove as you specify the index. So we are going to say remove, and here we need to specify the row. So we are going to say dataGridView.currentRow. So current row is basically that row that was selected. You remember when we were selecting one row, we had a small triangle in the far left that indicates that this row is being selected. I am talking about this little triangle. So here we are saying dataGridView.currentRow. That means give me this row that it is selected. And now when I click on remove, sadly the values are the same, so we cannot distinguish that. So I'm going to change just this one to say 36 in order to see the difference. And now when we, okay, so this one is the one that I have changed. So the row is selected. I will click on remove, and you see the whole row was removed. You can do the same thing. So here we have used the remove, but you can, but we can use the remove as command or remove as method and specify the index. So this is the index 0, 1, and 2. So we want to remove the second row, or the third row. So because we are starting from 0, we want to remove the third row. So 3 minus 1 is 2. Okay, I forgot to comment this line, so this will not work. I mean, it will work, but we are going to delete it 2 times. Okay, so now the beauty of this method is that I don't need to select it, to select this row. So look, now I'm selecting the first one, but when I click on remove, you see that line that has 36 in the grade was removed. Okay, I want to show you something else. With dataGridView, we can, for example, sort our data if we had numerical data. So we can sort it like this, and you see that the values are changing. Normally here, if you had some values that are very different, this will work perfectly. The same we can do for each of these columns. So I hope you have understood why we need to use a dataGridView. And in the next video, we are going to talk about the web browser. Hi everyone. In today's video, we will be discussing the web browser control in the Windows Forms application. The web browser allows you to embed web browsing functionality directly into your application, enabling users to view web content without leaving the application. Let us dive into the key features and functionality of the web browser, as well as how to use it. Okay, so go to your toolbox, search for web browser, drag it to your form, and change its size. So by default, as you can see, it took the whole page, but I don't want that. I want to resize it. So here you see the dock. I don't know why it is filled, but you can change it. I don't want it to be filled. So I will say none, and now I can change the size of my web browser. So in order to win some time, I am going to design the form, and I will be back. Okay, now I'm back, and as you can see, I have made this design. So here in the middle we have our web browser, as you can see here in the name. Here I have some buttons. The first one, navigate, back, forward, and refresh. And this is a text box. So here we are going to type the website that we want to check. Then when we click on navigate, we are going to go to that website. If we click on a link and want to go back, we can click on back, or we can go forward. If we want to refresh the page, we can click on the refresh button. The properties that we have for a web browser are this. So this URL. So here you can see the description. It says specifies the URL that the web browser control has navigated to. So I'm not going to type the URL here, but we are going to do it programmatically. So that's what we are going to see now. Now I'm going to go to the navigate button because it is very easy to program. double click on the navigate button and this method will be generated. Now type webBrowser.navigate and here we need to specify. So as I said before, in the form we have this text box. So we are going to get the URL from this text box. So here I'm going to say text. Okay. Now if we want to go back, so I'm going to program all these buttons because they are very easy. So here we are going to say go back. So as you can see, it is just one method. Here, when we click on the forward button, we are going to say webBrowser.goForward. And if we want to refresh the page, we are going to say webBrowser.refresh. So you can see the web browser is a very easy to use tool. Now I am going to run the application in order to see if we can successfully navigate to some websites that we are going to type in the text box. Okay, so the application now is running. Here I'm going to say google.com. Let's keep things simple. Click on navigate. And as you can see, Google now is appearing. One thing that I need to mention is that yes, this web browser works, but it's not that useful because you cannot use it as, I don't know, as your web browser because as you can see, the design is old and it doesn't support a lot of things. For example, if I want to go to YouTube and watch a video, that will not work. So you can see it says you need to update your navigator. So that doesn't work with a lot of websites. Here, let's say for example, speedtest.com. So let's just see if we can reach this website. So as you can see, it always gives this error. But I mean, it works, but it's not that great. So you can see, let me try another website. So this is a very new website. So chatpdf.com, navigate. Okay, so you see it didn't work because this website is very new and it has a lot of things that needs to be loaded. Okay, but I just wanted to show you this website, this web browser component because yeah, we can use it. So you can see here when we click on the back button, now we are on speedtest.com. When we click on back, we are going to go to google.com. Let me remove these errors. Okay, so you saw when I clicked on back, now I am on Google. When I click on forward, now I am on YouTube. I can go back to speed test, etc. If I want to refresh the page, I can click, let me go back. Okay, if I click on refresh, I can refresh the page, as you can see. But as you can see, it's not that usable. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. And you can see here that the text box is not updating. In order to fix that, let me go back. And here I'm going to double click on the, or not double click on the web browser because this is not the event that we want. So we want to trigger this event, navigated. Where is it? Yes, so this is the event that we want. When we navigate to a new website, we want to take the URL and set it as a text in the text box. So here I'm going to say webbrowser.url.toString. So this is going to get us the URL that we have navigated to, and this is going to enable us to update the text box accordingly. Whenever we go to a new website, the text box will change. So for instance, here I'm going to start with google.com as we did earlier. You can see now the text box has changed. If I click on let's say images or Google Play, anything, so you can see that yes, indeed the text box is changing. So here we have some games. We can go back, as I said, and yes, the text box is automatically updating. So I'm going to stop this, and I think these are all the things that you need to know about the web browser. So in the next video, we are going to talk about openFileDialog. Hi everyone, in today's video we will be discussing the openFileDialog in a Windows Forms application. The openFileDialog is a powerful tool that allows users to select and open files from their local system within your application. Let's see how to use the openFileDialog. In order to use the openFileDialog, we can find it in the toolbox. I'm going to drag and drop it. You see we have it here. Now I will add two things. I will add a textbox and a button. Okay, so this text box I will make it multi-line, and I will change its size to be something like this is good. And the button will be here, and I will resize the form also. I will double click on the button, or before that let me change the text to let's say load. And now I am going to double click on the load button, and when I click on the load button I am going to bring the openFileDialog. So I'm going to write the code, and you are going to see that how the openFileDialog looks like. First of all, we need to specify the types of files that we want to open. So in order to do that, here I'm going to say openFileDialog.filter. So this filter will enable us to choose a certain type of files like this. For example, I want the users to choose or to upload just text files, and this is the extension that I am looking for, .txt, or all the files if they want. So these are filters that they can choose. We are going to see this, but before that let me continue coding. So here I'm going to say if openFileDialog.showDialog is equal to OK. So we have seen this. It's like messageBox when you click on the OK button. Okay, so for now what we are doing, we are taking the file that we have specified. We are taking the file name and printing that in the text box. Okay, so let's run the application in order to see how this looks like, and then we are going to add more things here. Okay, the application now is running. Let's click on the load button. As you can see, so this is the openFileDialog. So it's a dialog that allows you to open files. Okay, so here I'm going to go to the downloads, and as you can see here, this is the filter that I have specified, and it is showing me this text box. And if I click on all files, I can see more files, as you can see. But if I want the users to just upload text files or images, then I need to specify this filter. Okay, I'm going to click on this file, test, open, and as you can see, what we have done, when we clicked on the OK button, we took the file name. So this is the file name, and this is giving me here the whole path. So we can go to users, my name, downloads, and in the downloads folder we have this file, and we set this as a text in the text box. Now we are going to try to parse the text that exists in this text file. Let me open it first just to show you what exists there. So I'm going to open the text file, and as you can see we have something inside this. So we are going to try to access what's inside of this file and print that or set it as a text for this text box. Okay, I'm going to stop the application from running. Here I'm going to say, for example, string file name. Here I'm going to say textbox 1 dot text equals to system dot io dot file dot read all text that exists in this file. So as you can see, we have no errors. So we are going to use the system namespace in order to read the text from a file. Let's see if this is going to work or not. Okay, let's load the test file, double click on it, and as you can see, so here we have successfully took the contents of this file and inserted into this text box. So basically, this is how we use openFileDialogs, and they are very, very, very useful tools. So this tool is very useful. We can use it in order to open files, and we have something similar, but it is called saveFileDialog. It is going to allow us to save the dialog. For example, here I can make adjustments to this file, and I can have a button here that will let me save this file into my local drive. We are going to see this in the next video. So I hope that you have understood the openFileDialog. As I said, in the next video we are going to talk about saveFileDialogs. Hi everyone, in the last video we have seen how to use the openFileDialog in order to open files, read them, and insert their content into this text box. Now we are going to continue on this application by adding a saveFileDialog. So this component will enable us to save, let's say, the changes that we have made to our file into our local drive. So the saveFileDialog is basically the same thing. Instead of opening, we are going to save. As I said, I am going to add a new button that will enable us to do so. Let's put it here next to the load button. I'm going to change the text to say save. Okay, I will double click on it, and you can see that I can copy this code and change the openFileDialog with saveFileDialog. And this just shows that these two basically do the same thing. Here, instead of reading, so okay, let's take this. Now, the only thing that we need to change. So when we have loaded the text box, we have made changes. Now, when we click on OK, we are going to save those changes. So let's see how to do that. So we can say string file name, and the Copilot is suggesting these two lines. So that's basically what we need to do. So we take the file name as we did here, and then instead of doing read all, we are going to say write all text. So this is the file name, and the content of this file will be what we have written in the text box. Let's see if this works or not. I'm going to click on F5, and then I'm going to load the test file. I will try to make some changes to it. Okay, like this. For example, I am going to say my name here. Let's save it. Let's create a new file. So test to save. You can see we have no error. Let me delete, or okay, so let me load the first text. You can see the first text file. There is nothing that was added. But if I load the second file, you can see this is the modification that we have made. As I said, basically these two go together in your application. For example, it's like here when working with in Visual Studio. So here they say open folder. You can see, so this is the open file dialog. And if you want to save your file, for example, I don't know, if you want to save it somewhere, you can save as. Here you specify the name and then you click save. And these are the filters that we have been talking about. So as I said, these two components, they are very easy to use, but they are very powerful, and you are going to need to use them in a lot of your applications. I hope you guys that you have understood how to use these components. In the next video, we are going to see something called menuStrips. Hello everyone. In today's video, we will be talking about menuStrips. The menuStrip components provides a convenient and organized way to create menus and submenus within your application, allowing users to access various functionality with ease. Let's see how to use them. Basically, a menuStrip is like this menu that we have here. So we have the menu, and in each menu we could have submenus like these. So this is a menuStrip, and in order to use it, you can find it in the toolbox. Drag it to your form, and you can see that it is very empty. Let me try to recreate this menuStrip that we have here. So first of all, we have File. Here we have Edit, View, Git, and Project. So I'm going to take just the first 5. Now I am going to add submenus. First of all, let's add Open, Save. Here you can see when I click on type here, let me go back. Here we have this little triangle. When you click on it, we have other things that we can add. We can add a textBox, a comboBox, a menu item, and a separator. I will be adding a separator. So that's how it looks like. It's like these separators that we have here in top. And here I'm going to say, for example, quit. Here, these are represented like buttons. We can treat them as buttons. For example, when I click on them, I can execute some lines of code. For example, if I double click on File, you can see that this method was generated. The same thing when I click on Open, I get this this method. And inside of each one of these methods, I can execute some lines of code. For example, here I'm going to show a messageBox saying that I clicked on the file option, for example, File. Here I'm going to say Open, or instead of saying Open, I am going to use what we have learned before. So in the toolbar, in the toolbox, I am going to drag the openFileDialog as well as the saveFileDialog. So I am going to use these two when I click on the respective buttons here. So when I click on the Open, I am going to open the file dialog. So in this method, I am going to write openFileDialog 1.filter is equal to something. I'm going to accept this. If dialog result, so I'm going to show openFileDialog.show dialog. If this is equal to dialog result.ok, then I am going to show again a message box saying that the file is opened, or something like this. When I click on the save button, I am going to use the saveFileDialog instead. So saveFileDialog.filter, if saveDialog.showDialog is equal to OK, then I'm going to say the file is saved. This is just an example. We aren't working with files here. just to show that these buttons are programmable. We can insert some lines of code inside of their methods that are going to be executed. So for instance, let me launch the application in order to see this in action. Okay, the application now is running. When I click on File, I get this message box. When I click on Open, so let's wait a bit. So this is the openFileDialog. And when I click on Open, okay, so let me take something. So I will take this file, Open. I get that the file is opened. The same thing for save. So I get this saveFileDialog. When I click on Save, let me add 3 to this in order to not overwrite this file. Click on Save, and I get the message box successfully. So this is basically how we can use a menuStrip. And as I said, it's like the one that we have here in Visual Studio. Okay, so in the next video, we are going to talk about toolStrips. Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to talk about toolStrips. The toolStrip control provides a powerful and customizable toolbar for your application, allowing you to add buttons, drop-downs, and other controls to enhance user interaction. Let's see how to use it. In the previous video, we have left here. We just added the menuStrip. Now we will add the toolStrip. Okay, drag and drop it, and you can see it added that second row. Here you have this little triangle that allows you to add a lot of things. For example, we have a button. So a button has an icon. By default, this is the icon of the button. We have a label. We have a lot of things that you can add. Drop down buttons. If you click on this button, it will bring this drop down, like this one, for example. So this is a button that has a little drop down in it. But here I am going to remove these because there is an option that will add default buttons quickly. So right click here on this white area, go to insert standard items, and voila, you can see that here we get a lot of standard icons. For example, this one will open the file dialog, this one will save the file, this one will print the file, copy, paste, cut. So these are operations that we normally use often. So here in this openFileDialog, I am going to do the same thing. I am going to open the file. Here on the save button, we are going to save the file, or to open the save file dialog. So again, if you want to add code that will be executed whenever you click on a button, just double click on it. I will double click on this open toolStrip button, and I am going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to call this function that will open the file dialog instead of typing this again. So the function is called open tool. I think open tool strip menu item. Let's see. So open tool strip menu item. Let me copy it in order to make sure. Yes. And here we need to add these two arguments. So we have the sender and the event. We will do the same thing when we click on the save button, but here I am going to say save tool strip menu, click, and add sender and E. Let's run the application and see if this will work or not. Okay, so we have our application running. Let's see if the menuStrip still works. Click on open. Yes, it is working. Let's open this file. Okay, we see the message box. Let's do the same thing here. So click on open, test2, and it works correctly. The save button will work also. So you can see, so this is the save file dialog. And yeah, basically these two components go hand to hand. You can use, when you use the menuStrip, you add the toolStrip with it. So in the next video, we are going to see how to add these two components automatically by working with a new type of form called MDIParent. So this is what we are going to see in the next video. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be discussing the concept of MDIParent in a Windows Forms application. MDIParent stands for Multiple Document Interface Parent, and it provides a powerful way to create applications with multiple child windows. Let's see how to use this type of form. Okay, so this MDIParent doesn't exist in the toolbox. If you want to add it, go to your Solution Explorer and then right-click on the name of your project. Go to Add, Component. Here, go to Windows Forms. Scroll down until you find MDIParent form. Leave it like this, or change the name, doesn't matter, and click on Add. So you can see this is what I said in the previous video. The menuStrip and the and the toolStrip are going to be added automatically for you. But here the thing is, so this is the multiple document interface. It allows you to add forms inside of it. For example, here I'm going to add a new button. Let's call it Load Form 1 and Load Form 2. So we already have Form 1, but let's add another form. The same thing, so right click on the name of project, go to Add, and here choose Form. The name is Form 2, it's fine. Click on Add. So we have a new form. Here I will be adding a label for each form just to distinguish between the two. So let's make the font a bit bigger, 16, and change the text property to say Form 2. I'm going to close it. Let's go to Form 1. Let's add a label here too, label, drag it, change the text to Form 1 and the font to 16. Let's center it and close this form. Here, let's click on Load Form 1. Let's double click on it. Okay, so this brings this method. Here, let's see, we are going to instantiate a new object of type Form 1. Let's call it Form equals new Form 1. So this is a new object of type Form. Here we are going to say form.MDIParent, so is equal to this. This refers to this MDIParent. So basically we are saying here, hey, Form 1, so this object, we are saying that your multiple document interface parent is this one. And then we are going to say form.show. So this will show our form, and here we can leave it like this and see the result that we get. Okay, so what is our MDIParent? We don't see it, we see the Form 1. That's because we need to change something else. So go to your Solution Explorer again, but this time open the program file. Double click on it. You can see that, so this program is called whenever we start our application, and it specifies the form that should be loaded. So here we are loading the form 1, but we don't want that. We want to load our MDIParent. See, now when we launch the application, we are going to see the MDIParent and not form 1 or form 2 or any other form. Perfect. As you can see, so the MDIParent form now is running. Let's click on load form 1. So you can see the form is inside of the MDIParent, and because it is bigger than the MDIParent, we have these scroll wheels, so we can scroll horizontally and vertically. We can, and here's the thing, we can insert as many form ones as we want. You can see, so they are being inserted one after the other. If you want to remove them, here I think we have the X button, so we can click on it and remove each one that we don't like. So I'm going to keep one, and we can do the same thing for form 2. Let's do that very quickly. So let's double click on form 2. Let's copy this and change form 1 with form 2, form 1, form 2. Let's see, so this should work. Okay, so load form 1, load form 2. So form 2 is on top of form 1. Here you can see that the forms, our form 1 and form 2, are much bigger than the MDIParent. So what if, let me remove the form 2. What if when I insert form 1, I want the MDIParent to resize its width so that we don't have these scroll wheels. So in order to do that, we are going to say, before showing, so we are going to say this dot width is equal to form dot width. So we are going to take the width of the form and set it as the width of our MDIParent. We are going to do the same thing here. Let's see if this works. Okay, so load form 1, and as you can see, the form or the MDIParent has been resized. It didn't show the whole form. Why? Because here we have some margins. For example, you can see this margin that we have here and this margin. That's why we didn't get the result that we needed. But we can here, for example, say form.plus, let's add something to count for those borders. And yes, if you do this for height, it will not work also, because we have that we have those components that we have added in the top, like the menuStrip and the toolStrip. So those are going to take space. Let's just add the height also. And you are going to see, even though we added 50 to the height, it's still not gonna work. Okay, so let's load form 1. You can see now the whole form is, or the width of the MDIParent is greater than the width of the form, but the height is still not enough. So we need to add probably 200 or 100 pixels. That's because, as I said, the menuStrip and toolStrip take up space, and here we have a very large border. If you want to, so let me remove these two lines, and if you want to dock your form, you can say form.dock style. I think dock is equal to dock style.fill. So this is going to try to resize the form in order to fill the space, so this gray space. Okay, let's do that for the first form also. So form.dock is equal to fill. Okay, so let's see what does this dock style do. Let's load form 1, and as you can see, so this will try to resize the form so that it takes this space. We don't want it to be much bigger than the form, than the MDIParent. No, we want it to be constrained by these boundaries. Let's add form 2 also. So here you see we don't have that cascade that we did have before. So before we had form 1, when we add a new form, we will have form 1 here. It will start from this point, and then from this point, etc. But because here we have changed the doc style, that's why they are now appearing one on top of the other. So if I remove this one, you can see that we have form 2 behind, we have form 1 behind, etc. So this is how we use MDIParent. It is a very wonderful type of form that we are going to use in the applications that we are going to build in the end. In the next video, we are going to talk about contextMenuStrip. Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing great. In this video, we are going to talk about contextMenuStrip. But what is a contextMenuStrip? The contextMenuStrip is a versatile menu control in the Windows forms that appears when the user right-clicks on a control, such as button or a text box. Its primary purpose is to provide a convenient way to offer context-specific options or actions to users. Okay, enough talking. Let's see how to use this component. Okay, let me add a text box in order to show you this. So this is our text box. I'm going to leave it like this. It's not important to redesign it or change its properties. I'm just going to show you the default options that we have when we right-click on a component. So here I am right-clicking, and you can see, so these are some options that we can choose or actions that the user can make. Let's say I have written my name, so Sabir. I can Control A that, right-click, and for example, copy, paste, delete, cut. So these are actions that actually work. But what if we don't want these things? We just want to have our own menu. So this is the contextMenuStrip. Let's see, when we add that, so we can find this, of course, in the toolbox. So contextMenuStrip. When you add it, you see you have this menu. Now I'm going to say cut, copy, paste, something else, for example. Okay, so this is the contextMenuStrip, and this is what I want to show the users when they right-click on this text box. Okay, so how am I going to do this? In order to do that, go to your properties, and you can see that we have a property that has the same name, contextMenuStrip. Here it is set to none. So none basically means that we are going to show the default contextMenuStrip or the default actions, but we want to show our own actions that we have added. So that's why we need to click on this drop-down menu and choose this contextMenuStrip that you have dragged. Okay, now let's launch the application and see if it is going to work or not. Okay, let's right-click on it, and you can see now we have our own actions. And right now they are doing nothing because we didn't program them. But in order to program each one of these actions, it's basically the same thing as programming a menu strip. So you just double click on it, you get your function. Here you can write anything, just to show that this works. Hey, it works. And so I did this for the cut button, but you can do it for the copy and every action that you have added. Here I'm just doing this quickly just to show you that it works. Okay, so this is what happens when I click on the cut action. So basically this is the contextMenuStrip. You add it in order, if you add it only if you want to do something custom. But if you don't want to customize the actions, you can leave it as none. And one other thing that I want to show you before ending this video. So we have done this manually, but again, everything that you do here, you can do it programmatically. Here you can go to your textbox one and say contextMenuStrip and give it contextMenuStrip one. You will get the same results. Okay, so in the next video, and it is going to be the final video in this tour, we have seen a lot of cool components in the toolbox, but again, we are not going to see every single one of them. We are going to see just those components that are very useful and that we use a lot in different applications. Okay, so in the last video we are going to talk about maskedTextBox. So it is a flavor of the text box that will this is going to give us other functionalities. Hello everyone. In this video, we will be talking about the maskedTextBox control. The maskedTextBox provides a powerful way to enforce input patterns and formats, making it easier to validate and process user input. Let's see how to use them. To use the maskedTextBox, go to your toolbox and search for maskedTextBox. Drag it to your form. I'm going to duplicate this. And here you can see that it looks like a text box, but it has new things that we don't have in a text box. So in this little arrow, we can click on it and set a mask. So what does this allows you to do is, we have seen before when we used a text box, we used to add a label to say, for example, enter your name or enter your date or enter your phone number. But here, yes, we can add that label, but we can specify the format of this text box. For example, if you are taking just phone numbers, you can enforce the user to input just something that looks like this format. Let me show you instead of talking. So for example, we can take this short date. You can see, so this is the mask, and this is what the user will see. He is going to see that these fields are empty, so he needs to fill them, and here also and here also. When I click on it, so okay, so you can see, so this is empty, so the user knows, I need to enter a date here, and these underscores shows the digits that are missing. Let me run the application so that you can see what I am talking about. Okay, so the application is running. Now, when I start typing, you can see I am filling those missing values. And now I am typing, but I can't because I have reached the limit. So this is the format that I need to complete, or that I need to comply with. If I try to add more characters, I cannot do it because I have forced the user to input how many characters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What about the first one? Let's choose something. For example, let's choose a phone number, but we are going to input our own. So here in Morocco we have, so I'm not going to add that plus in the beginning, so I'm just going to write 10 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so this is the format that I want. I want the user to input or to insert a phone number that has 10 digits in it. So when I click on OK, so this is the format that I need to write the phone number in. Okay, so here, as I said, I have 10 digits. Let's start. And now you can see that I am trying to write characters, but it isn't accepting that. It is going to accept just, let's go at the beginning. It is accepting just numbers, as you can see. And if I try to go past 10 digits, I cannot do that. So this is how to work with maskedTextBox. So this is the input, but how to read the values? In order to do that, let's add a button. Let's add a button that will show a message box that contains the values that we have entered here. So as I said, this is the phone number and this is the date. let's double click on the button. Okay, so our method has been added. Let's show the message box. So messageBox.show maskedTextBox1.text. Let's show another message box by here. If you want to duplicate the line, just click on Ctrl-D. So this will duplicate the line. And here, instead of saying textbox1, we are going to show the text of textbox2. Let's run the application. Let's click on the button. So you can see that we have nothing because the text boxes basically are empty. Here, let's input our text. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And here 8, 2001. Button 1. So here, this is our phone number, and this is the date. So basically, masked text boxes are a generalization or are more advanced than text boxes. So I hope in this series you have learned new tricks, what exists in Visual Studio, the most used components, and so these are, and the examples that you have seen are very simple, but in the next video, which is going to be a very lengthy one, we are going to try to build an application that has a ton of features. I'm not going to show it right now, but I am going to show it in the beginning of the next video. So in the next video, I am going to prepare an application for you that has a lot of things. I'm going to show it to you in the beginning. If you want to make it yourself, do it, because you are going to learn. So we learn by doing. But if you find difficulties, then you can watch the rest of the tutorial. And when we finish this, we are going to call it or to wrap this series. So this video is going to be 2 hours, 3 hours long. I don't know how much it's going to be. It depends on the last video that I am going to be adding. But that doesn't mean that you are going to end here. I am going to release other videos where we are going to talk about databases, how to connect your Visual Studio Windows Forms application into a database, especially or specifically a Microsoft SQL database. We are going to see how to generate reports automatically, and yeah, so I'm going to be adding videos about Visual Studio in the future. So make sure if you like this, to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you find it interesting. See you in the next video. Hi everyone, in today's video we are going to take all the things that we have seen in the previous videos and build this application. The application that we are going to be building contains a loading screen. Once that is finished, we open the MDIParent. Here we have added 2 things to the menuStrip. We have connect and market. Each one of these buttons is going to open a new form or open it here inside of the MDIParent. Once I click on connect, you can see, so inside that gray area, we have this form that is displayed here. Here we can enter our information and then save them. When I click on save, and if some of these fields are empty, I get these errors that are shown by this errorProvider. But when I fill the field, as you can see, now they are gone. Let me fill all the fields to show you what happens at the end. And here in this country comboBox, we can click on this little triangle in order to, or this little arrow in order to search for our country, or I have added autocomplete. So when I type M, I get all the countries that start with M. So here I'm going to choose Morocco. Here I will choose a color. and I get a preview here. Let me click on save. You can see that the thing that I need to enter here is the birthday. So 16/8/2001. And here the picture is not mandatory, but if I want to add it, I can click on it and choose, for example, this image. The image here represents the Visual Studio logo, but you can put your image here if you want. Once I click on save, you can see because I have filled everything, I get this message box. So here I have made it simple, just a message box that says everything is saved correctly, but here you can save the person's or the user's information and use that in order to see if the user is registered in your database or not. So those are complex things that we may see in the upcoming videos. But for now, we kept things simple because we haven't talked about databases in this course. Okay, so now let's go to the market form. Okay, so you can see here, once we have registered, so this was the idea. We are going to go to the market and buy things. So here we have smartphones, laptops, and televisions. For example, I want to buy just this Samsung Galaxy S23. I'll click on this checkbox and then add to cart. You can see that the phone was added, but no laptops and no televisions. And here I get the price of this smartphone. If I choose this Dell laptop, you are going to see that the total price is going to be higher. You can see, so now we have $1,939. I can choose another smartphone. Let's choose the OnePlus 11 and the Lenovo ThinkPad. Add to cart. You can see, so now we have three things in our carts. Now let's see the total price. So we are going to take all these prices, sum them up, and put the total price here. I have added a contextMenuStrip. So this is a custom. You can see here I can save the table. I can delete this particular row or clear everything. Let me delete this row first. As you can see, the row was successfully removed once I clicked on the delete button. Now let's delete everything, or let's clear all. You can see, so now we have nothing in our table. I have added another thing called save, but this one you can customize it however you want. So once I click on save, I get this openFileDialog. I can save it here, for example, shopping cart as a text file. Let's see how it looks. Let me go to downloads, shopping cart. And as you can see, so we get the smartphone that we have bought or that we have in our shopping cart, the laptops, the television, and the total price. So you can see it's not properly formatted, but because we have variable names, so that's why these headers are not aligned with the values. But that's not a problem. As I said, this is something that you can tweak however you want. So basically, this is what we are going to be building in this video. We have everything that you have talked about, I think, and this is going to be a very good project for you to practice and to see that, yes, those basic components, if you bring them together, you can build pretty good stuff with that. Before I start showing you my solution, so now, as you can see, you know what we are going to be building. So go ahead and try to design your application. So here you have three forms, the connect form, so we can design this. So it's very easy. It's a label. It doesn't need to be like my own. You can change the font size however you want. You can change the layouts, but you need to have these components in your form. The same for the market form, and let's not forget the loading screen form, because we have three forms here. So as you can see here, we have the loading. Let me show you that. So we have the loading screen form as well. So this one comes first, as you saw here in the program file. So we load the loading screen form. After that, we go ahead and load the MDIParent. Okay, I hope everything is clear. Try solving this for yourself and tell me in the comments if you have been able to do it. One more thing before I end this video. If you go to the description, you are going to find this link that will point you to my repo. Here you are going to find my solution, as well as all the projects that you are going to see in the upcoming tutorials. So I'm going to talk about databases, how to link them with your Visual Studio forms, how to insert, create values, etc. So all the things that we are going to talk about in the upcoming videos, I am going to put them here in a centralized repo so that you can check the code yourself and try it and see if it works. And you can do that by clicking here on code and download zip, extract that and use it and open it with Visual Studio. Okay, so I hope you are going to try and solve it, and see you in the next video. In this video, we are going to start with the loading screen form. As you can see, here I have three main components. So first of all, we have a label, a progress bar, and a timer. As you can see, the background looks a bit different. That's because I have changed the form border style. So by default, we have fixed 3D, but I didn't like to have these buttons and this icon as well as the title. That's why I have changed it to none. After that, I have resized the form so that it doesn't take a lot of space. Okay, now let's go and double click on the background in order to load this loading screen form load method. I was going to code live with you guys, but I think this is going to take a lot of time. That's why I'm going to show you the code and try to walk you through it. First of all, let's go back. We have this timer. I have set the interval to 20 milliseconds, and by default it is set to false. It's not enabled. That's why when I have double clicked on the form's background, I have started the timer. After that, we need to double click on the timer in order to bring this timer tick method. And as I told you in the progress bar video, we should not exceed the maximum value. Okay, so it is set to 100. This is what I have here. This variable, I mean, I could remove it and just type here 100, but just for readability, I have added that. So here we compare if the progress bar value is less than the maximum value. If that is true, we can increment the value of the progress bar and change the label to say loading in progress. And here let me remove this properties tab, and here we just add the progress value. Okay, so it is going to say loading in progress 1%, 2%, etc. until we reach 100%. Here, when we reach 100, in the next tick, we are going to come here into the else statement, because 100 is not less than 100. Okay, so here I am going to stop the timer and open the MDIParent. Okay, so I have added this little function just to make this function a bit clear. So here I instantiate this object, so this is called MDIParent1. I am going to show this form and hide this one. So basically here the functionality is this. We are going to start the application. The progress bar is going to increment. Once it reaches 100%, we are going to show the MDIParent. This is what we are doing, and hide this loading form. And then we are going to stop this timer so that we don't keep opening MDIParent endlessly. Okay, so let me show you that. If I don't stop this timer, we are going to and once we reach 100%, we are going to open MDIParent. But we are not going to open it just once, but we are going to open it each 20 milliseconds. And this is not the behavior that we want. That's why we need to stop the timer once we open the MDIParent. Now, as you can see, the progress bar is incrementing, and you can see now we are opening MDIParents a lot of time. Why? Because as I said, we didn't stop the timer, and this is not what we want. So that's why we need to stop the timer in order to not get this issue. Now, after we have stopped the timer, you can see that we don't have this problem anymore. Let me stop the application one more time, and don't forget that in the program.cs you need to say new loading screen form. If you don't do that, it's going to start with the first form that you have in your project. We don't want that. We want to start from the loading screen form. Okay, so as you can see, the code is not that hard, but you just need to be aware of all the things that we have seen before, because what I am showing right now is not something new. I have talked about this in the previous videos. Okay, let's not talk a lot, and in the next video we are going to see the MDIParent. Okay, so we are going to add an MDIParent and see what are the things that we need to do in this form. Hi everyone, I hope you are all doing great. As I said in the previous video, we are going to talk about MDIParents. I hope you still remember how to create something that looks like this. Basically, you open your Solution Explorer tab, you come here, so it depends, my project is called Final Project. You right click, go to Add, Components. Here you need to click on this Windows Forms, and here MDIParent form, and give it a name. Once you finish that, click on Add, and then you are going to get something that looks like this. Here I have added two things. I have added disconnect and this market options. In order to add options, you just come here where it says type here and type whatever you want. For example, something else. I can do that if I want. Okay? But for me, I am going to remove that because I don't want that. Once you do that, double click on connect, and we need to do this. So you need to create another form called connect and another form called market. Okay? The same thing. Go to your Solution Explorer, right click, go to add, and here choose form. Once you do that, give your form a name and hit add. Come back and double click on connect, and here you need to instantiate an object of type connect. After that, you should say that the MDIParent of this form is this. What does this mean? This form. Okay? And then we are going to dock this connect form inside of this MDIParent. Basically, the connect form will take all this gray space. If we don't do that, and if the connect form is bigger than our MDIParent, we are going to get those scroll wheels. Okay? After that, we need to, because here the connect form is taller than the MDIParent, we added here 100 pixels. But you could experiment with this. It depends on the design. If you have a compact design, you might just add 50 or 40. It depends, as I said. So this is, you can experiment with this value. And after that, we just show the connect form inside of this MDIParent. The same for the market component or the market form. We instantiate an object called market. Let me call it market form, because this is a form. Okay, market form. As you can see, so here we are just repeating. So this is the MDIParent for this market form, and the doc style is filled. Here we don't have a problem, so the width of this market form should be the same as the width of this MDIParent. And at the end, we just show it. Let me launch the application so that you can see what happens when we click on those two buttons that we have added. But again, we need to wait for this loading form to finish. Now, click on Connect. You can see, so the height has changed. And here, when I click on Markets, the width changes. Okay, so as I said, it depends on the design. If you have changed the design, you might remove this 100 pixels, or you might adjust the width. It depends. Okay, so in the next video, we are going to talk about, or we are going to see what we need to do in this connect form. Okay, so here we are going to see how to program all these things. See you in the next video. Hello everyone. Let's continue on this final project. So we have arrived at this form, so the connect form. This is the design. Make sure to include these components. So here we have a colorDialog. We have how many error providers? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So, and an openFileDialog. So basically you need to add these 7 components, or 3 technically, but in total you need to have 7. Okay, so don't forget that. Make sure that the design looks like this, or change it however you like, but try to have the same components. Okay, first of all, let's start with this country comboBox. So here, I don't know if you remember or not, but if I launch the application, when I try to choose a country in that comboBox, I get these suggestions when I click on the little arrow. But as you can see, so when I click on this little arrow, I get suggestions. But I can also get auto-completion just by typing some characters. So we are going to see how to do this first. So let me stop the application. Okay, first of all, click on this little triangle, go to Edit Items, and here you can paste all the countries that exist. Don't worry, you are not gonna write them one by one. I'm going to put in the description a link where you are going to find all these countries and basically copy and paste them here. As I said, in the description you are going to find this link that will point you to this GitHub repo. Here you can click on the row and Control A, Control C, go back to Visual Studio, and here you can paste that by clicking on Control V. Okay, so after that click on OK, open the Properties panel. Here you need to go pin it, and here you need to search for autocomplete mode. Here you have suggest. By default I think it is set to none, but change that to suggest in order to get the same behavior as you saw. Okay, so I think this is the only thing that you need to configure. And here also you can change the state of these radio buttons. For me, I have chose male to be the default one. You just come here and set check to true, because if you don't do that and launch the application, both of them are going to be deselected or dechecked. But here I want this one to be checked automatically or by default. But if the user is a female, she can change that. Okay, so now let's look at the code. I am going to start with this favorite color because I think it is the easiest one. So let's click on choose. Here, so this is the method. Let me remove this properties panel. Good. So first of all, we are taking that colorDialog and showing the dialog. So this is going to show us the dialog where we can pick our color. So let's say that we have picked the red color. Then we are going to click on OK. After that, we are going to take the color that we have chosen and set it as the background color for this picture box. So you can see this is very simple. Let's see that in action. Okay, so we have our loading in progress screen, connect. Okay, so I click on choose. Here is the colorDialog that we can see in front of us. Let's, for example, choose this color. Click on OK, and voila, the pictureBox background color has changed successfully. Now let's see how we can take a picture and set it here in this picture box. So if you don't remember, we click on this picture box. The openFileDialog let us choose the picture. So here we click on pictures, for example. Let's choose, I don't know, anything that I have here. Okay, so we have this picture set in this picture box. But you can put your image if you want here. I am just showing you that you can do that. Let's see how to make this. So you saw that I have clicked on this on the image or on the picture box. Okay, so what event is triggered? Basically, you double click on the image and you get this click event. Once you click on the picture box, this event will be triggered. So if you go back, or I hope you remember the video where we talked about openFileDialogs. So first of all, you start with the filter. Here we are working with images. So you need to specify the extensions that you want. For example, here I have JPG, JPEG, and PNG. You can add more image extensions, but these are fine. After that, it's like the colorDialog. We show the dialog. Here we have the OK button. Once we click on it, we take the picture. Okay, so new image. So we take the image like this. So openFileDialog file name, and we set it in the image. Okay, so this is straightforward. Now let's see what happens when we click on this save button. So this is the behavior. Once you click on the save button, you get these error providers that are showing some errors because you didn't fill in these fields. Okay, so we have, for example, here, please select your favorite color. Here it says, please enter your first name. Please select your country. Okay, so let's see how to do that. And whenever we fill in the fields and click on save, those errors are going to be removed, as you can see. Okay, so let's double click on the button to see what's inside. Okay, so this looks a bit too much, but we are going to unpack it and go step by step. First of all, we are testing if the first name is null. That means if the user has inputted something here or not. So we have this function that has this very long name, but it is very descriptive. So it says test and set error if first name is empty or not. Basically, if the first name textBox is empty, we are going to set the error provider next to it and return true, because this Boolean variable is named is null. Okay, so you can change the logic and return false if it is full, for example, or if it is not null. So it depends on your logic. Let's expand this function to see what's inside it. Okay, so you can see that indeed we are testing if the first name string is empty. If it is empty, then we are going to take this error provider and set an error next to this text box first name. And this is the message that we are showing. Please enter your first name. So this is related to the first name text box. And you can see we return true if the string is empty and false if it isn't empty. So this logic works only for the first name, but we have a similar function for last name. So you can see here we have another Boolean value called isLastName null. We have basically the same function, but we have just changed the text box and the error provider as well as the error message. Okay, let's go and try to see the country combo box. So because this one is it's like the first two. So we have this function. Here we are taking the combo box. By default, the combo box is empty, but after that you can choose your country. So by default it is empty, and we can test for that. We are going to take the text in this combo box and see if it is empty. If that is true, we are going to do the same thing. So I'm not going to repeat this. Let's go to the to this preview picture box. We are going to test if the user has chosen a color or not. So this is the name of this variable, is color not chosen. That means, has the user forgotten to choose the color? We have this function that helps us to do so. So here we are testing if the color is equal to system.color. Okay, so let me open the properties tab, pin it. So here let me look at this back color property. You can see by default we have this control color. I can change it from here. For example, I can choose a custom color, let's say red. So you can see so the background color has changed. Let me go back to control. So this is the color by default. So we are going to take this color and see if it is equal to the current background color of this picture box. If this is true, we know that the user hasn't chosen his color. So that's what we did here. And in order to get this control color, we use the system colors class, because this class has these constant values. Okay, so we get control and see if it is equal to the current background color of the picture box. If this is true, we are going to set the error, we are going to change the error string, etc. So we have seen these previously. And if the user has chosen his color, we are going to remove the error and return false. Okay, so right now we have talked about is first name null, is last name null, is country null, and is color not chosen. Okay, so we have one more function that will test if the birthday is true or not. So that's, I have left it at the end because it contains more stuff in it. So let me expand this function. Okay, so as you can see, we have more things inside of this function. First of all, here we have the format. So we want our date to be in this format because, for example, most of countries, they start with day, month, and then the year. But some countries like the UK and others, they start with the month. After that, they have the day and then the year. So we don't want to make this function too complex in order to account for these different formats. So that's why we are going to specify one single format. So I want the date to be inputted in this format. Okay. So how are we going to test this? We have a very helpful function. It is called try_parse_exact. So you need to use it like this. So you have the dateTime class and you get access to this method. Basically, this method, it is going to take a string. So here in this maskedTextBox, we are going to retrieve the string and see if that string is a valid date or not. So you can see the first argument is that string. So we take our maskedTextBox and retrieve the string from it. After that, we have the format. So you can choose any format you want. Here, this third argument, cultureInfo.InvariantCulture, means that the date is not presented in a culture-specific format, but in a standardized format. System.globalization.dateTimeStyles.none. This argument means that there are no additional styles applied to the date, so the string representation of the date must match exactly the specified format. So if it doesn't match it, then we are going to return false. And here, lastly, we have this fifth argument. So this is a variable that this method is gonna return, and it contains the date time. For example, if I have here as a string, let's say, for example, 24 or 25, 01, 2004. Imagine that this string is what we have retrieved from this maskedTextBox. As an output, so this dateTime variable, it is going to contain this exact date, okay? If it is a valid date. If it isn't, then it's going to be null. So 2004, okay? So we can retrieve this datetime and show it or use it elsewhere. In order to prove that, let me show a messageBox. So messageBox.show datetime. So we need to convert that to string. So to string. Okay, now whenever we click on save, we are going to take the datetime and show the date. Okay, so after that, if this value is true, we are going to remove the errorProvider, but if the date is not correct, then we are going to show this error that says, please enter your birthday in this particular format. Okay, so we have been talking a lot about this function. Now let's see this in action. So I am running the application right now. Whenever we click on the save button, we are going to take the string that we have in this maskedTextBox and show the date. Okay, so let me click on save. You can see, so by default, so this is the date that we have entered, and this is not, so this is by default, but if we populate this maskedTextBox, let's say, for example, 16/08/2001, click on save, you can see, so now this variable has the correct date, okay? So let me go back and remove this line of code that we have added. Okay, so now we have all our Boolean values. Now we are going to test if all of them are true. If all of them are true, that means that we have successfully filled all the fields. So here we are inverting that because this is null, so we are going to invert it. By inverting it, we are making sure that this field is not empty. So basically we are inverting the first one, the second one, etc. After that, so if one of them is not filled, or if one of them is not set to true, that means that we are not going to show this message. But if everything is correctly filled, we are going to get this message box at the end. So let me run the application and show you this. Okay, so we have our loading screen. Let's click on connect. Click on save. Okay, so we have a bunch of errors. Here, let me fill some fields. Click on save. You can see the errors now are gone. Let me choose my favorite color. It is black. Save. The error is gone. Let me take a picture. Let's take this one. Let's choose my country, so Morocco. save, and lastly we have this birthday. Now let me try to enter it in a different format. For example, so let me start with the month, after that the day, and then the year. So click on save. You can see it didn't accept that because this format is not the format that you have specified in the code. So we need to start with the day, after that the month, and lastly the year. Click on save. You see now we have no errors and we have successfully filled all the fields. And by doing so, we get this message box that says everything is saved correctly. Okay, so this particular form had a lot of things inside it. I hope I have made everything clear for you guys. Now we have one more thing to talk about, and it has to do with this market form. So we are going to talk about it in the next video. Hello everyone. In the last video, we have finished working on this connect form. Now we need to start working on this market form. So here we have 3 combo boxes. This one is for smartphones, this one is for laptops, and the last one is for televisions. Here I have populated each combo box with some phones, this one with some laptops, and this one with some televisions. You can add more phones, more laptops, or even more products. You can add here cars or something like or anything. Okay, so if you want to buy something, you click or you check the corresponding checkbox. So for example, I want to buy just this smartphone. I am going to add it to my cart, and you can see, so we have this one plus in the smartphone column, but the other ones, because I haven't checked these checkboxes, they are set to none. And here I get the total price, which is basically the price of the smartphone, or the sum of the prices of the products that I have selected. Now if I change this phone to the iPhone 14, and if I choose this laptop, I am going to get a very high total price. So add that to my cart. You can see, so this has reached $2,300. I can choose nothing. I can choose, for example, this television also, add to cart. Okay, so you can play with this. Let me add one more entry. Okay, so this is good. Now if I click on this total price, you can see I get the sum of these total prices. This gives me the price of this shopping cart. Okay, now I have added a contextMenuStrip that will let me, for example, delete this line. Okay, so I'm going to delete this one because I have duplicates. So right click, click on delete. You can see, so that row was removed. I can save this table as a text file. Let me go to downloads and name it, for example, shopping cart. Click on save. Let's look at that file. Okay, so it is in my downloads folder. Click on it. Okay, so as you can see, so here we have the first column, smartphone. We have the first smartphone, the second one, the third one, and here we have none. Here we have the laptops, the televisions, and the total price. You can see the formatting is not good because this is just a text file. But if you want, you can search and see how to save this into a spreadsheet, for example. That will be very useful and very easy to see the data. Okay, and the last option or the last action that we can make is clear all. So this deletes all the rows from the shopping cart. Okay, so now let's see how to make this work. Okay, so let me stop the application. Okay, so here again, click on this little triangle, edit items, and here you can see, so we didn't input anything manually here, but we did that programmatically. Here you can do it either here or using C#. So that's what I did. So when you double click on the background in order to bring this load method, look what I have done. I have instantiated 3 dictionaries. Okay, so the first one for smartphones, the second one for laptops, and the last one for televisions. The key is going to be the name of the smartphone, and the float is the price of the smartphone. For example, when I choose the Samsung Galaxy S23, so this is the string, but the value or the price of that smartphone is going to be stored in this float variable, for example. Okay, so how I did that? So in the load method, here I have 3 functions. The first function is going to populate this comboBox. The second one is going to fill the second comboBox, and the third one is going to fill this third comboBox, because you see here all of them are empty. Okay, so let's look at these functions. Let's look at the first one. Okay, so here I am instantiating this smartphones dictionary, and you can see, so here it's very easy to work with. So you take your dictionary and you add items to it. Here I have Samsung Galaxy S23 with the price in float as a float value, etc. So here you can come here and add as many phones as you want. Okay, so here, okay, good. But how to take this data and populate this comboBox? Okay, so in order to do that, you set the data source to be this smartphones dictionary, but you need to convert that either to array, or you can also convert it to list. Okay, so it's going to work also. Let me go back to array. Here, because here we have a dictionary, we have 2 values. So we have the key and the value. So this display member is going to show the strings. So when I was selecting the smartphones, I was seeing just the strings, but I can convert that to value in order to see the prices, but that will not be a good option. But let me change that and launch the application in order to show you what does this mean. So basically we are going to see prices instead of the names of the smartphones, and this is not very helpful. That's why you need to change that to key. Okay, so when I click on market, you can see now I don't have Samsung Galaxy S23. I have just prices, because the value is set to these to the prices. I don't want that. I want to show the keys, and the key is basically the name of the smartphone, but the value of this selected item is the price. So for instance, when I take any smartphone and add it to my cart, the value that I am retrieving is the price, and it's not the string or the name of the smartphone. Okay, so here let me click on market. Okay, let me choose just the S23, add it to my cart. You can see the price that I have here is the same as the price of this Samsung Galaxy S23. Here I have spelled Samsung wrong, so changed L to M. But if I add, let me see, if I take the Apple iPhone 14 and try to add it, you can see, so this price is the same as this one, because this is the value that we are taking from this comboBox. Okay, I hope this is clear for you guys. If you have understood this, then the next 2 methods are basically the same. So here we add some laptops, we do the same thing, and here we add some televisions. Okay, so let me collapse these functions because we don't need them anymore, and to gain some space. Okay, let me collapse this one too. Okay, so now we have our text boxes or our combo boxes filled. Now let's look at this shopping cart. Okay, so here you need to click on this little triangle, add column, and here you can specify the column names and you need to add these 4 columns. So I have done that. I'm not going to do it here, but this is how you can add columns. And if you have a gray space here, open your properties tab and search for auto size columns mode, and here change that to fill. This is going to make the columns take all the width of this data grid view. Okay, now let's double click on this add to cart. Okay, first of all, we are going to set these 4 values to none and 0. None means that we haven't chosen any smartphone, any laptop, or any televisions. Okay, so this is by default, but after that, when we click on these checkboxes, we are going to change these values. And the total price is 0 because we have chosen nothing. Okay, so after that, when I click on this checkbox, that means when I check it, so here I am testing if that checkbox is checked. That means that I can take this smartphone from the comboBox and set it into this variable. So I can change this variable to, for example, Samsung Galaxy S23 if I check the comboBox. I am going to do the same thing for the laptop and the television. And in order to take the price, so I'm going to take this total price variable and add to it the price of the smartphone. So here we take the text. So this is the string that we see, but in order to take the value, we need to take our comboBox and take the selected value. This is going to return the price of the smartphone or the laptop or the television. Okay, so after that, once this is done, we are going to take all these values and add them as a row to our data grid view. So we have the smartphone, the laptop, the television, and the total price. You can see we have 4 values. Why? Because we have 4 columns. And this is basically this add button. It's very easy. Now, in order to get the total price, so we have this variable that is telling us the total price of this shopping cart or the value of this shopping cart. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to loop over each row of this shopping cart and take only the last value. Okay, so how are we going to do this? We are going to use for each loop, and we are going to loop over all the rows. So in order to get the list of rows, we are going to do this dataGridView.rows, and this is going to return, as you can see, so it is going to return a collection that contains all the rows in the dataGridView control. Okay, so we have the rows now. We use the for each loop in order to loop over all of them. Okay, so now we have the row. As I said, we need to go to this last cell. So basically the first index is 0, second one is 1, the third one is 2, and the last one is 3. So that's why here I have set 3. So I am taking the third cell and I am taking its value, and I see if it is not set to null, just to make sure, in order to not hit any exception. So if it is not set to null, we are going to take this value that exists in this column and add it to our variable, and we are going to do this for all the rows, and by the end we are going to get the total price. Once we get that, we are going to change this label to say total price plus the value of our shopping cart plus the currency. So here I have chosen dollars, but you can change that to I don't know, euros or anything. Okay, so these 2 buttons now are configured. Now let's see how to work with this contextMenuStrip, because don't forget we have a contextMenuStrip. So let's start with the clear, because it's very easy to do. So clear all. Okay, so we have just one line. So dataGridView.rows.clear everything. Now, how can we remove a specific row? So double click on delete, and here it's very easy. So we take all the rows and then we remove the row at the selected cell. Let me launch the application in order to explain this in details. Okay, so we have our loading screen. Click on markets. Let me add some values. Okay, so here we have this line. So when we write dataGridView.rows, this is going to return a collection that contains all these rows. But we want to remove so this row, and this is how are we going to retrieve this row? Okay, so we are taking the index of the selected cell. Okay, so here we have dataGridView dot selected cells dot row index. Okay, so here you can see that I have this cell that is selected. I am taking its row index. So the row index here is 0, 1, 2. Look at this little triangle. So this is the second index. Okay, so we take this index and remove the row at this specific index. I hope I have explained this very well for you guys. And now let's move on to this save action, because it is the last thing that you are going to see in this video. Go back to your form, double click on save. Okay, so here we have a lot of things, but basically we are going to use the saveFileDialog, because this is going to enable us to save our dataGridView as a text file. Okay, so let's go back. So here, because we are saving this as a text file, we have this extension or this filter. Okay, so after that we need to show the dialog. We take the file name, so this is the name that we specify on this saveFileDialog. Okay, so now we want to write some text in this file. Okay, so the first line that we write is just the name of columns. So you can see we have smartphone, laptop, television, and total price. And this \t is just going to add a space between smartphone and laptop. And \n is going to return to the next line. Okay, so in the next line, we are going to take all the rows and add them to our text file. Okay, in order to do that, here we have a for each loop. We are going to do the same thing as what we did here when we calculated the total price. But here we are going to take all the values instead of just the third cell. Okay, so we take all the rows, we loop through them using the for each loop, and here we are going to append to this file. We are not going to override the content of this file. No, we are going to append. Append means that you take the text file and you just add to it. Okay, you don't override the whole file. So we are going to add to this file name these values. So the first cell is going to give us the smartphone. The second cell is going to give us the laptop that we have chosen. The second cell is going to give us the television. And lastly, we are going to add the total price to this line. And don't forget to add these \t and \n just to have good formatting. Okay, so here we have a counter. Why we use this? Just to break once we reach the last value. Or why we use this counter? Basically because here we have a problem. When we work with dataGridViews, I don't know why this happens, but you can see that we have, let me choose a smartphone, for example, add to my cart. We always have this empty row. I don't know why they add it by default, but this, if we don't make sure to stop before reaching this row, we are going to hit an exception. This is why we added this counter. Basically, this counter will enable us to see if we have reached this row. If this is true, we are going to break and end this for each loop, and after that save the whole file. And now we have successfully completed this save action, and by doing so we have successfully completed this form. Congratulations! You have reached the end of our comprehensive course on Windows Forms applications. Throughout this journey, we have explored the fundamental components that make up the foundation of building user-friendly and interactive desktop applications. From buttons, labels, text boxes, combo boxes, and other components, we have covered a wide range of essential controls that empower you to create intuitive interfaces. By leveraging the power of Visual Studio, we have seen how these components can be easily added, customized, and connected to code, allowing us to build dynamic applications easily. We also embarked on a final project where we put our knowledge to the test. By incorporating multiple components, we created a practical application that showcased their versatility and integration capabilities. It is important to note that this project is just the beginning of what you can achieve with Visual Studio and Windows Forms applications. There are other things that you need to learn, and that I haven't talked about this in this course, such as databases, how to connect them with your application, and more stuff that you can do with Visual Studio. I am going to make sure to add more videos on my channel that are going to cover these topics. As you continue your journey in software development, I encourage you to explore further. Experiment with different controls and push the boundaries of your creativity. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you delve into Windows Forms applications and experiment with Visual Studio, the more confident and skilled you will become. Thank you so much for joining me on this learning adventure. I hope this course has equipped you with the tools and knowledge you need to embark on your own Windows Forms applications projects. Remember, the possibilities are endless, and I can't wait to see what you will create with Visual Studio.